Marcus Hale was not supposed to be at a rundown restaurant at 2:57 a.m. Not the Marcus Hale, billionaire founder of Hale Hospitality Group, owner of 47 restaurants across the East Coast, the man Forbes called the golden standard of safe workplaces. But tonight, Marcus drove with his headlights off as he rolled into the parking lot of Griddle House #12, one of his oldest locations. He hadn't planned this. He hadn't planned any of this. But then an email came in, anonymous, frantic, terrified. "If someone doesn't come tonight, someone's going to die. Please, I've tried everything. I don't know what else to do." 2 lines, no signature, no details, except one clue: night shift, equipment failure, cover-up. Marcus didn't sleep after that. He threw on a hoodie, grabbed the old pair of work boots he used before he made his first million, and drove 2 hours through the dark. The parking lot was empty now, except for one beat up 2006 Honda with a mismatched door panel and a baby car seat in the back. He killed his engine, and that's when he heard it. Boom. A muffled explosion from inside the kitchen, not loud enough for the street to hear, but loud enough for someone who knew restaurant equipment to recognize. The sound of a malfunctioning pressure grill. Marcus felt the hair rise on his arms. If that thing blew for real, it could take half the building with it. He hurried toward the side window and looked inside. A black woman in her late 20s, neat braids pinned back, apron tied tight, face damp with sweat. She was limping. Her left leg dragged slightly as she maneuvered around a grill that smoked in an unnatural, sputtering rhythm. Every few seconds she would lean back, arm extended, like she was fighting the urge to jump away from it. She wasn't working with the grill, she was surviving it. No one else was in the kitchen. No shift supervisor, no second cook, no prep, no dishwasher. This building needed 4 people minimum for night operations. She was doing it alone, at 3 a.m., just like the email said. Marcus knocked on the window. She turned sharply, not startled, just bone, deep exhausted, as if being scared took too much energy. She approached the window slowly. He motioned toward the back door. After a moment, she nodded. "You with corporate?" she asked in a low voice. "No." Marcus said, deepening his tone. "Equipment inspector." She exhaled, but it wasn't relief. "Of course," she muttered, always at the wrong time. She opened the door fully and stepped aside. Her limp was more obvious up close. "You all right?" Marcus asked. "This shift isn't supposed to be one person," she said instead. "But Todd don't care. Todd, regional manager, shows up once every 2 weeks to yell at us and leave." Her jaw hardened. "Says I don't get paid to think, just to shut up and cook." Marcus' stomach turned. She said it with such calmness, like she'd said the sentence to herself 1,000 times just to get through the night. "What's your name?" Marcus asked. "Imani Brooks." She said, "Line cook, night shift lead, since everyone else quit." She didn't bother hiding the bitterness. Marcus scanned the kitchen, equipment held together with duct tape and hope, exhaust vents clogged with grease, a walk-in door that didn't close properly, cold air leaking like ghostly fog. He saw a stack of rags hanging above a fryer fire hazard 101. He fought to keep his face neutral. "When's the last time this equipment got proper servicing?" Marcus asked. Imani didn't answer. She walked to a small locker at the far wall, opened it, and pulled out a battered 3-ring binder. She slapped it onto the prep table, pages spilling out, every page a maintenance request, dozens, dates, times, photos, notes, and every single one stamped in red. Denied, not in budget. Marcus felt his pulse hammering. "Who denies these?" "Guess," she said. "Todd, bingo." Marcus flipped to a page marked with a yellow sticky note. "Emergency gas leak repair. Request immediate shutdown of grill. Risk of combustion. Denied. Non-critical. Continue operations." He swallowed. "This equipment is dangerous," he said. "Dangerous." Imani laughed, a short, humorless sound. "Last month, the grill spit a fireball straight into the hood. I had to smack it down with a wet towel because the fire suppression don't work." Marcus froze. "What do you mean it doesn't work?" Imani walked to the grill, tapped a metal pipe overhead. No pressure. It hasn't been connected since the remodel last year. That's illegal, Marcus said quietly. Everything in here is illegal, she whispered, another boom from the grill. Imani didn't jump, didn't even flinch, just adjusted a valve and stepped back. See, she said, normal. Marcus felt a wave of fury so strong he had to hide it. This wasn't negligence. This was willful, systematic, deadly. Why didn't you quit? He asked softly. Imani's mouth tightened. I got 3. You're old twins, day care, rent, food. Nobody hires night shift cooks with no college degree. This job is all I got. A beat. And Todd knows it. Marcus felt something inside him snap, a slow, cold determination. Show me everything, he said. She hesitated, then she nodded. Imani unlocked a drawer beneath the old cash station. Inside were photocopies, older versions of reports the company never kept on file. Gas leak readings, grill pressure failures, emails, screenshots, photos of scorch marks on the wall. Twice she had circled the same phrase. Last worker on this shift died here. Marcus looked up sharply. What do you mean died? Imani took a shaky breath. 12 months ago, his name was Jerome Carter, night cook, same equipment, same shift, same grill. What happened to him? Marcus asked quietly. CO poisoning, passed out, fire started, they found him too late. Marcus's throat tightened. And the report changed. Imani said it was employee error, said Jerome was careless. You don't believe that. She lifted her chin. He wasn't careless, he was scared, like all of us. Marcus clenched the binder so tightly the edges bent. Who changed the report? He asked. Imani lowered her voice. I don't know who, but I know it wasn't the inspector. Why? She pointed to a photocopy of the signature. Then she pointed to another document, Todd's posted inspection update, allegedly signed by the same inspector. The signatures weren't even close. Todd forged an official inspection report. Marcus whispered. Imani gave him a tired smile. I figured it out 6 months ago. Why didn't you report it? I did. To who? Everyone, she said. Nobody answered. Marcus froze the email, the desperate anonymous message. You sent that email, he said. Imani looked at him for a long, heavy moment. I sent it to 15 addresses on the company website. Only one opened it. And you don't know who that is? No, she said. But whoever they are, they're the first one who listened. Marcus swallowed hard. The guilt hit him so deeply he couldn't speak for a moment, because he did know it was him. He had been the only one who opened it. And if he hadn't, he didn't finish the thought. A flame licked up the side of the grill. Imani grabbed a towel, wrapped her hand, lowered a valve comm as someone tying a shoe. Marcus rushed toward her. Let me, she snapped. No, you don't know the timing. One wrong move and the whole thing explodes. Her voice trembled slightly, not from fear, from exhaustion. This wasn't bravery, this was a woman forced to become brave because no one cared enough to keep her safe. The room filled with smoke. Marcus coughed. Imani didn't. She'd gotten used to poison. When the smoke cleared, she leaned against the counter, breathing hard. Marcus took a step closer. Imani, this isn't a workplace, it's a death trap. Yeah, she whispered. I know. She wiped sweat from her forehead. Her limp was worse. The bruise on her shin, he hadn't noticed it earlier, was a deep purple. You're hurt. Marcus said. That grill threw a panel at me last week, she said. Todd said it wasn't grounds for medical leave, said if I filed a claim, he'd write me up for improper equipment handling. Marcus felt heat rising behind his eyes, not anger, rage. Imani, he said quietly, I'm going to fix this. She looked at him skeptically. Like she'd heard those words before too many times from people who never meant them, but Marcus did, because the truth was sinking in. His company had failed her. His managers had failed her. He had failed her. And someone already died because of it. Imani walked back to the grill. Inspector, she said, if you came here to write a report, don't bother. They'll bury it, like they buried Jerome. Marcus stepped closer. Imani, she stopped, slowly turned. For the first time he saw fear in her eyes, not from equipment, but from a truth she was finally willing to speak. Whoever is behind this, she whispered, they're doing it on purpose. The the denials, the forged inspections. They want this place to fail. Marcus's blood turned cold. He already knew she was right. He already suspected why. But before he could respond, the back door opened. Footsteps, a man's voice, sharp, entitled, disgusted. Well, well, well. What the hell is this? Imani stiffened. Marcus turned. A man in a suit stood in the doorway, expensive watch, slick hair, arrogance dripping off him. Todd Brennan, Imani muttered. Todd looked Marcus up and down with a sneer. And who the hell are you? Marcus's jaw flexed. For the first time tonight, he let the truth flicker across his face. Not fully, just enough to send a ripple through the room. He stepped forward, calm, controlled, dangerous. My name, Marcus said quietly, is someone you should have been very, very careful with. Todd blinked. Confused, annoyed, yeah, and what's that supposed to mean? Marcus looked at the broken equipment, the binder of denied repairs, the bruises on Imani's leg, then back at Todd. And in that moment, a storm began brewing behind Marcus's eyes. Because this wasn't about negligence. This wasn't about budgets. This was about power, abuse, profit, and a black woman forced to risk her life every night because men like Todd thought she didn't matter. Marcus stepped closer, voice low, cold, final, it means. He said, "Your time here is over." And Todd froze because he suddenly realized something. This wasn't a night shift inspector. This man was someone else entirely. Someone with the power to end him, and tomorrow he would. Mrs. Pearl didn't waste a second once Clarence walked out the diner door. She hurried to the kitchen, wiping sweat off her forehead with the back of her hand, brushing flour dust off her apron. She didn't even call his name. She hunted him down with the urgency of someone who'd just seen a miracle land in her restaurant. "Clarence, slow down, baby. Hold on." He stopped, confused, turning back. "Ma'am, that job is yours soon as I finish this other gig," he said with a soft smile. "I just got a do right by the folks who helped me when I didn't have nothing. They're counting on me to finish their remodel. Mrs." Pearl reached him and grabbed his arm, not hard, but firm enough to make him stop walking. "Listen to me," she said in a low, shaky voice. "I've been run in this diner almost 40 years. I've hired a lot of people, fired even more." She glanced over her shoulder through the window where Tara stood, still smiling, wiping a table with exaggerated care. "I ain't never met someone I wanted in my kitchen more than you right now." Clarence chuckled and shook his head. "I'm honored, truly, but I gotta finish what I started. They're paying me in installments. I need that money. Mrs. Pearl sighed so deeply it seemed to deflate her entire chest. "Then I'll wait," she whispered. "However long it takes." Clarence's eyebrows rose. "You serious? Baby, I'm 72 years old. You think I got time to play around? I know talent when I see it." He smiled again, this time a little softer, a little warmer, then tipped his cap. "I'll be back when I can, I promise." And then he was gone. The bell jingled softly as Mrs. Pearl walked back in. Only a few customers remained. The group of bikers had left 20 minutes earlier, still talking about the grill guy. Tara spotted Mrs. Pearl returning and immediately switched from the bright, fake smile to a bored scowl. "So, you really gonna hire him?" she said without even lowering her voice. Mrs. Pearl narrowed her eyes. "Yes, I am. Why, you upset he was better than you?" Tara scoffed and tossed a dish rag onto the counter. "Better than me, ma'am. I went to culinary school. I trained under chefs. I've been working here for a whole year, and you wanna replace me with some handyman with a toolbox." Mrs. Pearl stepped closer, her voice sharp. "A handyman who can cook circles around you." Then she lowered her voice. "And don't you dare pretend you treat customers right. I saw how you looked at those bikers. Same way you look at folks who don't tip big." Tara's face twisted. "Ma'am, with all due respect, this place is nowhere near my career goals. I'm only here until something better comes along. You knew that." Mrs. Pearl nodded slowly. "I did. But I didn't know your spirit was this ugly." Tara's eyes widened. "You trying to say I'm a bad person?" Mrs. Pearl didn't answer right away. She pressed her lips together and walked behind the counter, sorting receipts. "You need to go home," she finally said. "Take the rest of the night off." Tara froze. "Are you firing me?" "No, Mrs." Pearl said without looking at her. "But if you keep talking like this, you gonna fire yourself." Tara clenched her jaw, grabbed her purse, and marched out the front doors, slamming it so hard the windows rattled. But the moment she hit the parking lot, her expression changed completely. Her eyes narrowed into thin slits. "Replace me," she muttered under her breath. "With him, a stranger off the street." She pulled out her phone. "Oh no, that's not happening." She dialed a number quickly. "Hey babe," she said sweetly as soon as someone picked up. "Remember what you said about wanting to handle that old lady for firing your cousin? Well, something new just happened, and you're gonna wanna hear it." It was almost dark when Clarence got back to the small house he was remodeling for a retired couple, Mr. and Mrs. Davenport. He stepped out of his truck, rubbing his aching shoulder. Man, he was tired. He'd been working since sunrise, then he cooked a full lunch rush at the diner on pure adrenaline. But something inside him felt light, happy even. He walked to the porch, where Mr. Davenport was rocking slowly in a wooden chair. "You're late," the old man teased, then he sniffed the air dramatically. "Smell like bacon grease and opportunity." Clarence laughed. "I stopped by Pearl's place." Mr. Davenport grinned wide. "Oh, that woman got her hooks in you already. She offered you a job, didn't she?" Clarence sat on the step next to him. "Yeah, but I told her I'd finish your remodel first. That's my priority." Mr. Davenport tapped his cane approvingly. "That's why good things chase you, son. You do right by people." Then he leaned forward, lowering his voice. "But let me tell you something. If Mrs. Pearl wants you, that's bigger than a job offer. She don't trust nobody in her kitchen, not even family." Clarence rubbed the back of his neck. "I know. That's what got me thinking." He paused. "Thinking maybe my life ain't as stuck as I thought. Maybe things can actually change for me." Mr. Davenport nodded. "It's about time." Just then the front door opened and Mrs. Davenport peeked out. "Baby, your dinner getting cold." "I'll be right in," her husband called. He stood slowly, patted Clarence's shoulder, and said, "Tomorrow we finish your last window frame, and after that, you go run that kitchen like you were meant to." Clarence breathed out a long exhale. "Sounds like a plan." Pearl closed up an hour later. She flipped the open, sign to closed, locked the door, and began wiping down the counter. She hummed softly, thinking about the future. She hadn't felt this hopeful about her restaurant in years. But she didn't notice the black car parked across the street, didn't see the silhouettes sitting inside, didn't know one of them was Tara's boyfriend, didn't see the camera phone recording her through the diner window, or the quiet whisper, "That's her. That's that old bat trying to replace Tara. Get real good footage so we can ruin her online. Nobody gonna eat here again." The car stayed parked until the last light in the diner turned off. Then it pulled away silently. Mrs. Pearl walked to her own little sedan, completely unaware of the storm that was brewing. She didn't know that Tara wasn't simply upset. Tara wanted revenge, and the first target wasn't going to be Clarence. Clarence woke early, brewed a small pot of coffee, and packed his toolbox into the back of his truck. He planned to finish the window frames by noon, clean up the site, and maybe, just maybe, swing by the diner again. He didn't want to admit it, but something about the place felt like home. He turned on his radio, humming as he drove. Sunlight glowed against the trees. The day felt promising. But as he reached the Davenport home, he noticed something odd. Mrs. Davenport was outside pacing on the porch, arms folded, her face tight with worry. Clarence stepped out of the truck quickly. "Morning, ma'am, everything okay?" She shook her head. "Clarence, baby, I don't know what's happening." "What do you mean?" She handed him her phone. "Look." Clarence took it. His stomach dropped. It was a video, poor quality, taken from inside a car at night. The caption read, "Racist diner owner threatens employees share this before she fires another black worker." It showed Mrs. Pearl locking up the diner, doing absolutely nothing wrong. But the audio terrible, fake, stitched together, made it sound like she said, "I don't want his kind in my kitchen." Clarence felt heat rush up his neck. "That's not real," he said immediately. "I was there. She never said anything like that." Mrs. Davenport looked just as upset. "The whole town is sharing it, Clarence. It's on Facebook, TikTok, everywhere. Folks are already commenting. They're calling for protests, boycotts." Clarence forced himself to breathe. He knew exactly who had done this, Tara. There was no way it was anyone else, and if this went viral, Mrs. Pearl's diner, her life's work, could be destroyed. Clarence stepped back. "Ma'am, I need to go." Mrs. Davenport touched his arm. "You gonna fix this?" He nodded. "I'm sure gonna try." He jumped back into his truck and sped down the dirt road, his heart pounding so hard he felt it in his ears. He wasn't just angry, he was scared, because he knew something no one else did. Mrs. Pearl didn't deserve this, and he wasn't going to let anyone ruin her. Halfway there, he saw a group of motorcycles outside a gas station. The same bikers who had watched him cook yesterday. He almost kept driving, but then he heard one of them shout, "Yo, grill man, you seen the news?" Clarence pulled over. "What news?" The biker, a tall guy with a beard, shoved his phone toward him. "You gotta fix this, man. They draggin' that old lady through the mud. They sayin' she racist." Clarence swallowed hard. "She's not. We know she's not." Another biker said, "We saw how she treated us yesterday, but this video got folks riled up. People believe it." Clarence wiped sweat from his forehead. "Do y'all know where Tara lives?" All the bikers exchanged looks. One of them smiled. "Oh, so you know exactly who made that video?" Clarence nodded. "I need to talk to her." The biker cracked his knuckles. "You want backup?" Clarence hesitated. "Yeah, might be a good idea." The tallest biker leaned against his motorcycle. "Then let's ride. Nobody messes with good people in our town." They roared out of the gas station like a pack of wolves, Clarence's truck right behind them. Inside her apartment, Tara sat curled on her couch, sipping iced coffee, smiling proudly at her phone. Notifications flooded her screen. Cancel the diner, boycott Pearl's place, fire that racist old woman. She scrolled through comments, her smile growing. She didn't even flinch when she heard motorcycles outside. She didn't flinch when she heard a truck door slam, but she froze when someone knocked hard on her door, 3 times, a slow, steady rhythm. She set down her cup, her heartbeat quickened. She looked through the peephole and went pale. Standing outside were the same bikers she insulted yesterday, and Clarence. He wasn't smiling. Tara's breath hitched as she stared through the peephole. Clarence stood dead, center in the hallway, hands in his pockets, jaw set tight. The bikers flanked him like guardians, silent, unmoving, staring straight at her door, for the first time since she posted that fake video. Tara felt a stab of fear. She swallowed hard, then plastered on a fake smile before opening the door just an inch. Can I help y'all?" she asked, voice high and shaky. Clarence didn't step forward. He didn't raise his voice. He simply said, "Take the video down." Tara blinked fast. "What video?" One of the bikers laughed under his breath. "Girl, don't play dumb." Clarence kept his eyes on her. "You know exactly what you posted, and you know it's fake. Mrs. Pearl never said anything racist. She ain't never mistreated you. She ain't never mistreated nobody." Tara opened the door a little wider, folding her arms. "Look, I don't owe that old woman anything. She was gonna replace me, for no reason. So yeah, I made a little video. So what? She deserved it." Clarence's eyes narrowed. "No, she didn't. You mad because she saw your attitude. You threatened her customer, disrespected people, acted like you better than everyone else. That's why she wanted to hire me, not because of nothing you made up." Tara scoffed. "Oh, please, you think you some hero now, grill man coming to save the day." The tallest biker stepped forward. "You tried to ruin a woman's entire life because she hired somebody better at the job than you. That's low." Tara rolled her eyes and put a hand on her hip. "Oh, spare me the moral speech. Nobody woulda believed it if there wasn't some truth to it." Clarence took one step closer. Just one. Tara flinched. "You didn't just lie," he said. You tried to destroy her business, her reputation, her name. She ain't got nobody in this world. That diner is all she got. The hallway fell silent. Tara's eyes flicked between them. Annoyance, fear, calculation all fighting on her face. Then she smirked. You think I'm scared of you. My boyfriend's on the way, and he ain't gonna like y'all showing up here uninvited. The bikers exchanged amused looks. One murmured, good, under his breath. But Clarence shook his head. We ain't here for violence. We ain't here to fight nobody. We here for one thing. He held out his hand. Give me your phone. Tara stepped back like he'd asked for her soul. No, absolutely not. Then delete the video yourself, he said calmly. Tara licked her lips. No. Why? She hesitated, just a moment too long. One of the bikers leaned forward. Oh, she mackin' money off the views. Tara's jaw clenched. Clarence felt anger bloom in his chest. Not loud, not explosive, but cold and deep. His voice lowered. This ain't a trend, Tara. You put real harm on a real person. Folks talkin' about protesting. Folks callin' her restaurant. Her phone ringin' off the hook with threats. And you did it because your pride got hurt. Tara crossed her arms again. I'm not tacking it down. Clarence exhaled slowly. He nodded once. Okay. He turned to walk away. Tara smirked triumphantly. Then Clarence stopped at the end of the hallway. He turned back around. But understand this. Everything you posted, everything you faked, it's unraveling today. Tara frowned. What are you talking about? Clarence's voice was steady. You didn't know the diner got cameras, did you? Outside, inside. One pointed right at the front door. Her eyes widened, and Mrs. Pearl, she keeps recordings for 60 days. The color drained from Tara's face. Clarence nodded at the bikers. Let's go. They walked away as Tara stood frozen, mouth slightly open, heart pounding like a drum. For the first time, she realized she wasn't in control anymore. When Clarence arrived at the diner, he found Mrs. Pearl sitting alone in the dark. She wasn't cooking. She wasn't cleaning. She wasn't humming. She was staring at her phone, eyes glossy with unshed tears. Mrs. Pearl, she jumped. Oh, Clarence, baby, I didn't hear you come in. He looked around. The chairs were still stacked on tables, lights still off. Open sign flipped to closed. You're not opening today. She shook her head slowly. I can't, not with everything people say, and online. Folks talkin' about coming by to straighten me out. I'm scared, Clarence, truly scared. She pressed her wrinkled hands to her cheeks. How did this happen? Why do people believe such awful things so fast? Clarence slid into the booth across from her. I saw the video, and I know who made it. Mrs. Pearl's throat tightened. Tara. Clarence nodded. Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Pearl closed her eyes. I knew she didn't like me, but I didn't think she hated me. Clarence leaned forward. Listen, you ain't alone. I went to talk to her. She won't take it down. But she shook when she realized you got cameras. She know the truth comin' out. Mrs. Pearl opened her eyes slowly. Baby, I ain't got no idea how to post videos or talk to crowds or fight the internet. She chuckled weakly. I still type with one finger. Clarence smiled. That's okay. You don't have to fight alone. He stood. Turn on the lights, Mrs. Pearl. She stared at him. What? Turn them on. Open the door. Let people see you ain't hiding. Clarence, I can't. Yes, you can. He said, voice warm but firm. You always talked about how your mama taught you to hold your chin high. Do it now. Slowly, shakily, Mrs. Pearl stood. She walked to the light switch. Click. Warm yellow light filled the diner. She stared at her reflection in the window. She didn't look like a monster. She looked like a tired, scared, elderly woman who had spent her entire life serving pancakes and kindness. Clarence walked to the front door. You ready? Mrs. Pearl swallowed. No, he smiled. Good, means you brave. He unlocked the door, flipped the sign to open. But when the door swung open, Mrs. Pearl gasped. Outside were at least 20 motorcycles lined up. The bikers who had eaten lunch yesterday, and about a dozen more they'd called, and behind them, locals, customers, regulars, people who knew Pearl for decades. They weren't there to protest. They were there to support her. One of the bikers raised a megaphone. Everybody listen up. Pearl nearly fainted. We ain't here cause of that fake video. We here cause this woman fed half this town for 40 years. She kept prices low when folks had no money. She never turned nobody away. She let us run tabs, let us sit inside during storms, gave extra food to the homeless. People clapped, shouted, nodded. A mother lifted her little boy. She fed my son every morning before school when I lost my job. An older man raised his cane. She loaned me $20 one winter so I could buy heat and fuel, told me to pay when I could. A teenage girl stepped forward. She gave me my first job, and when I messed up, she taught me instead of firing me. Pearl covered her mouth with both hands. Tears finally fell. Clarence stepped beside her. See, truth always got louder voices than lies. A biker shouted, "We stand with Pearl." The crowd echoed, "We stand with Pearl. We stand with Pearl." Tara, watching from her apartment window down the street, felt her stomach twist. She wasn't expecting this, not support, not loyalty, not community, not justice, but Tara wasn't done yet. She came storming down the street, phone in hand, jaw clenched. "Y'all are stupid. She is racist. I have proof." The crowd went quiet. All eyes turned to her. Clarence stepped forward. "Tara, just stop." "No." She screamed. "She tried to replace me with you. She wanted to fire me." Pearl stepped closer, voice calm but stern. "Tara, you walked out on me. You yelled at customers. You lied on video. You nearly ruined my whole life." Tara's nostrils flared. "Whatever. None of these idiots know what she's really like." A biker in the crowd yelled, "Show us the full footage then." Tara froze. What? Another yelled, "You got the video. Show the whole unedited clip." "Let's hear her real words." The crowd murmured in agreement. Clarence crossed his arms. "Go on, play it." Tara's hands shook. She stepped back. I can't. My phone died." Clarence leaned in slightly. "Funny, you posted it 3 minutes ago." Tara's eyes darted around, panicked. The crowd now saw right through her. Someone shouted, "She's lying." Another yelled, "Get out of here with that fake stuff." A mother covered her kid's ears as she hissed, "You should be ashamed." The crowd began pulling out their own phones, recording her. Tara felt her face burn. This wasn't the plan. She hadn't expected to become the villain on camera. She turned to run, but Clarence called out, "Tara." She stopped. He wasn't angry. He wasn't shouting. He just said, quietly, "You hurt someone who never hurt you, but it's not too late to tell the truth." The entire street held its breath. Tara trembled. Her mouth opened, then she shut it tight, spun around, and sprinted away. Every camera recorded it. Every person saw it. Her silence was her confession. That afternoon, Clarence helped Pearl upload the real security footage online. The video showed Tara never being insulted, Pearl speaking kindly, no racist comments, Tara's own rude behavior within hours. The fake video was exposed as a lie. By evening, it was deleted. And Pearl's diner, it was packed, people filling every booth, a line wrapped around the building, neighbors bringing flowers, kids handing her cards. Pearl wiped her eyes at the counter. "Clarence, I don't know how to thank you." He shrugged softly. "You already did. You believed in me." Then she said something that made him freeze. "Baby, the kitchen is yours whenever you want it." He laughed. "Tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow." And she hugged him tight, trembling with relief. As Clarence walked out that night, exhausted but proud, he passed a man standing near the diner's sign. A man in a suit. A man who definitely wasn't from around here. "Excuse me." The man said, "You Clarence." Clarence frowned. "Yeah, why?" The man extended a business card. "I saw what happened today. The whole town's talking about you. A handyman who cooks. Someone who stood up for an elderly woman. I run a local development group." Clarence blinked. "Oh, what now? We're opening a new culinary training program. We need someone who understands both skill and heart. Someone like you." Clarence stared at the card, then at the man, then back at the diner. "Why me?" he asked quietly. The man smiled. "Because leaders don't announce themselves. They show us who they are." Clarence stood there in the parking lot, stunned. His life had just changed, and tomorrow it was about to change even more. Marcus stood there at the edge of the warehouse floor. staring at the man who ruined his mother's dignity years ago, and who now had the nerve to call him boy, like nothing changed. But Marcus wasn't trembling anymore. He wasn't scared. He wasn't that hungry, ashamed 14-year old standing behind a convenience store counter, hoping nobody asked him about his bruises. He had grown, and this time he had power. Mr. Rollins, still frozen halfway out of his chair, tried to regroup himself, smoothing the front of his overpriced cashmere coat. Marcus, listen, he started. But Marcus didn't let him speak. No, you listen, Marcus said quietly, stepping forward. His voice didn't have to be loud. The kind of power he carried now didn't need volume. It carried truth. The whole room fell silent. Even the forklift hum died down. Even the construction crew stopped hammering. They all felt that something important was coming. Marcus took a breath. You told my mother she was trash, he said, eyes locked on Rollins. You told her a woman like her wasn't worthy of being seen in your store. And when she walked out crying, you looked me dead in the eyes and said, you'll never amount to anything either. A ripple went through the workers gathered around. Rollins' face lost color. Marcus continued, voice steady, almost too calm. Well, turns out you were wrong on both counts. Rollins swallowed hard. He reached for the only thing he thought he still had authority. Marcus, I didn't know. That's the part you should be ashamed of. Marcus interrupted. You never wanted to know about us, about our lives, about the people you stepped on just to feel tall. Rollins looked like he'd been slapped. But Marcus wasn't done. He raised his hand and waved toward the security office. Bring them in. 2 guards walked out holding several thick folders. Rollins' eyes widened because he recognized them. His financial records, his hidden transfers, his asset manipulations, his emails to intimidate building inspectors, his attempts to buy out smaller shop owners then bankrupt them. Marcus had everything. And Rollins knew it. Where did you get that? He whispered, voice cracking. Marcus tilted his head. You left a lot more fingerprints than you thought. And unlike you, I don't threaten people to stay silent. They came to me willingly. Rollins stepped forward, desperate. Marcus, wait. We can settle this. Let's talk like men. I can repay your family for anything I did. That's the problem. Marcus cut in. You think everything is about money. He held up his phone. A single tap, and suddenly all the big screens on the warehouse walls lit up. Camera footage, emails, documents, everything. Rollins stumbled as his own crimes played behind him like a guilty slideshow. The workers whispered, that's the guy who threatened to shut down our block. I knew he was dirty. He always looked down on us. Rollins spun around, swallowing panic. No, stop this. Marcus, please. Marcus stepped closer, face inches from Rollins. You humiliated dozens of people for years, driven by greed, by ego, by this need to feel powerful, but all it did was reveal how small you really are. Rollins' voice broke. Marcus, don't ruin me. Marcus stared at him, eyes steady. You did that to yourself. Marcus didn't yell, didn't curse, didn't push Rollins like Rollins once pushed his mother. He simply turned to his project manager, Louise. Call the state board, he said. Have them send their investigators. Tell them everything, every file, every piece of evidence. Louise nodded. Phones started ringing instantly. Rollins collapsed into a chair, deflated, exposed, small. The investigators arrived within hours. Rollins didn't even try to run. His legs were too weak to carry guilt that heavy. Before Rollins was escorted out, Marcus did something Rollins never expected. He walked over and placed something gently on the table. A photo, a little boy standing beside a tired woman outside a convenience store. His mother, him, years before he escaped the cycle. Rollins stared at it with trembling lips. I remember her, he whispered. Marcus nodded once. She wasn't trash, he said softly. She was the strongest woman I've ever known. She just deserved someone to treat her like a human being. Rollins wiped his eyes with shaking hands. I'm sorry, he whispered, not in arrogance, but in absolute brokenness. Marcus didn't smile, didn't say, I forgive you. Some wounds weren't meant to be wrapped neatly. He simply replied, it's too late for apologies, but it's not too late to change. Rollins lowered his head as the investigators led him out. For the first time in his life, he walked out without trying to look important. A week later, Marcus stood outside a new construction project, this time a community center in his old neighborhood. Kids ran around playing basketball. Single mothers lined up for free food boxes and job training sign-ups. Elders sat on benches laughing like they hadn't in years. This was what Marcus did with his success. Not to show off, not to prove anyone wrong, but to make sure no one else had to feel the way he once felt. Louise joined him. "You know," she said, smiling, "you could have used that warehouse as another business, another profit hub." Marcus shook his head. "There's profit in this too," he said quietly, "just not the kind you count in dollars." Louise nodded with respect. Behind Marcus, a boy tugged on his jacket. "Mister, my mom said you helped her get a job," she said. "You're the reason we're okay now." Marcus knelt so he was eye level. "You tell your mom she's the reason," he said warmly. "She just needed someone to open a door." The boy grinned and ran off, and that more than any victory over Rollins filled Marcus with something money could never buy: peace. Moral: never underestimate the quiet ones. Some people suffer in silence, then rise in power. If you enjoyed this story, make sure you like, comment, and share your thoughts. Your engagement helps us bring more real stories and emotional moments to life. And remember, subscribe to Arias Stories for more powerful Black voice-style storytelling, deep morals, and uplifting karma moments.